and welcome to On Spec, the podcast that does slow journalism, the kind that takes time, telling stories that make you think, feel, and act to do good beyond your own borders. My name is Nafisa Haji, and I'm your guest host for this season, Lethal Dissent, Iran's Hunt for its Citizens Abroad. In our last episode, The Fall, we followed Fariba Nawa as she toured Mohammad Shabani's apartment, saw footage of his fall, examined the evidence from his death, and spoke with his neighbors. Shabani's death seemed to be a result of multiple and varied causes: gas, razor blades, a fall to the ground. Given the circumstances, it's hard not to wonder whether anyone else was involved, especially given what we know about other Iranian dissidents living in Turkey. This week, let's listen in as Fariba Nawa goes to court, uncovering a zany kidnapping plot involving a corrupt prosecutor, organized crime, and a former officer in the Iranian Navy, now exiled to Turkey. In Lethal Dissent, Iran's Hunt for its Citizens Abroad, Episode 5, Operatives.
After I explored Mohammad Shabani's apartment, looked at his case file, talked to his neighbors, the possibility he was assassinated seemed unlikely. But I don't know how Iran operates in other countries. The mechanics of state-directed assassination, it might be more than meets the eye. Around the time Mohammad died, his friend and former colleague, Mehdi Hajeti, was living with his family in a Turkish city called Yalova. It spreads across rolling hills on the coast. Turkey resettled quite a few Iranian dissidents there. It seemed safe.
Dönelim ya Timur, senin yazını da okumuştum. İran ajanları için savcı adam kaçırır mı?
Ya oluyor işte.
Nasıl olur?
But that safety was an illusion. One day, Mehdi's wife, Zora, was scrolling Facebook. That's where she first saw the news about an Iranian kidnapping ring in Yalova.
Ve bütün bu çürümenin yarattığı insan portreleri bunlar.
The Iranians were targeting dissidents. The Turkish government had busted the operation.
Ben eskiden çok şaşırdım. Yani çok eskiden örnekleri var. Ama böyle bir çürüme, böyle bir yozlaşma gerçekten...
In February 2022, Turkish prosecutors arrested and charged suspects in the Yalova kidnapping ring. A month later, the Turkish government evacuated Mehdi, Zora, and their kids to a smaller seaside town. Yalova wasn't safe for them anymore. The trial against the kidnapping ring was set to start in the summer of 2022 in Istanbul. This trial was my opportunity to learn who these operatives were, why they work for Iran, and how. I'm inside the courthouse. It's a multi-floor, shiny building with a lot of security. The trial against these alleged operatives is in the heavy penalties court. Serious crimes, serious punishment. There are a lot of people here, mostly lawyers, wearing shoes without socks, penny loafers. For such a serious place, I see a lot of people watching TikTok on their phones. I had to stop recording. It's not allowed inside the courtroom. All 16 defendants in the case are accused of kidnapping or attempting to kidnap Iranian dissidents, and some of them have been charged with espionage. I've talked with several of the defendants and their lawyers, sat through hours of testimony and long days in court. This case was sprawling, and it would last a year and a half. The prosecutor wouldn't talk to me, but in a way, he speaks through this. The prosecutor's 77-page indictment. It outlines the charges and explains who did what in detail. This file and other court documents tell quite a story. But the primary victim of the Yalova kidnapping operation can't tell us what happened because no one knows where he is. He was an Iranian military officer named Mash'ali Firuzeh. At some point, he refused to work with the regime and fled to Turkey. The prosecutor doesn't know much about Firuzeh. In a court filing, he says this: the fate of the victim, Firuzeh, is unknown after he crossed into Iran. There were other targets, too. The regime tried to kidnap an Iranian Navy captain living in Yalova, but the Navy captain got away. His name? Mohammad Rezai. I head to Yalova to find him.
No, now it's recording.
My colleague Özge Sabzeci is with me, helping me report this story. She's a journalist and my Turkish interpreter.
Hold that
Yok yok değil. Yok kamera değil. Sadece bir proje için yapıyoruz.
Ya radyo
Pazartesi yaptık sadece.
Someone asked us what we're doing, but we don't have time to stop and talk. This dissident Navy captain, Mohammad Rezai, he used to work at a kebab place. We learned the name of the restaurant's owner in court.
Biz ne zaman Muhammed'e ihtiyacımız olsa Muhammed o zaman geldi.
Yani böyle ara.
Tabii ara ara. Bizim ihtiyacımız olunca çağırdık. Mesela bir günlüğüne geldi, 3 günlüğüne geldi, 5 günlüğüne geldi.
He's Serkan Cihan. His restaurant is full of wooden tables and vinyl seating. He doesn't want to say much at first, so we sit and eat one of his buttery kebabs. Then he warms up to us and tells us about the former Navy captain, Mohammad Rezai. Serkan says the restaurant was short-staffed.
They need a team. They needed someone to help them.
How did they meet him?
Nasıl tanıştınız yani onunla?
O da müşterimiz de burada. Öyle o vasıtasıyla canı sıkılıyordu. Ben para istemeden
He says when
yardım
Rezai was
ederim
bored,
istedi.
he would offer his help at the restaurant without
Yardım ediyordu
asking for
bize.
money.
Çalışandan ziyade yardım ediyordu bize. İhtiyacımız olduğu zaman.
Rezai could speak broken Turkish. He sounds like he was a lonely guy looking for people to talk to. Serkan liked him. According to the court records, the plan to kidnap Mohammad Rezai began with a friendship. A Turkish man started hanging around the back of the kebab restaurant. He'd smoke and chat with Rezai.
Garsonlarla görüşmüşler. Bir rahmetli Fuat abimiz vardı.
Serkan
O şey
says our
yapmışlar.
cook died and we needed another one, so we hired this
Ben
guy.
dönerden anlıyorum demiş.
His name was Hakan Salam. He applied for a job. Hakan would regularly offer to take Rezai to Canada. He said he knew people, but Rezai was suspicious, in part because there was a red flag.
Gelip denedi baktık ki dönercilikten anlamadığı için tutmadık zaten. Yanımda değil dedi, getireceğim dedi ama baktık ki zaten şey değil yani.
We could tell he couldn't cook. He didn't even know how to hold a knife. He wasn't fit for the job he applied for. Hakan's relatives started to visit Rezai at the kebab shop.
Resimlerde kaldırmışlardır yani.
You know, like there was like 4 or 5 of them, including a blonde lady.
He saw 3 men visit Rezai. There was a woman with blonde hair too. But Serkan didn't catch any of their names. And as to Rezai's whereabouts, he says,
Belki Muhammed de gitti, bilmiyoruz ki.
maybe Rezai's left now. It would make sense for Rezai to leave Yalova. He was almost kidnapped by the Iranian regime here. But until we know he's left for sure, we're going to keep looking.
We're headed to where Mohammad Rezai used to live when this incident happened to him.
Basically, all we have is a street name and what we think is a building number.
A lot of garbage on the street. His building is this taupe-colored building. It looks like it's about 4 or 5 floors. And there's some unmanicured lawns and flowers here. We're going to try to go and see if and the door's open. There's no security. It's wide open.
We don't have an apartment number, so we just try the first one.
Do you hear people inside?
No luck. We head upstairs.
Try this one.
After knocking on at least 5 doors, someone does finally answer.
Yani buradan yukarı yok, onu biliyor. Yabancı buranızda yok. Ama bir boğazma var. Belki yandaki apartmanda var, onu da bilmiyorum.
Tamam. Teşekkürler.
Teşekkürler.
Özge talks with a woman at the door. She says she doesn't know who we're looking for.
So we tried. Obviously, he doesn't live here anymore. It's raining outside. And I'm going to put this away.
It was a bust. Until serendipity.
Okay, we just talked to a water seller, a guy who sells water bottles next to the building where we went to.
No, that's not. Arıtma. He's like, you know, like the water is dirty and like you have to make it clean. What do we call it?
Filter.
Water filter.
Filter guy. Okay, so next to the building where we went looking for him, we met a business owner, and we asked him if he knew Mohammad Rezai, and he told us, yes, of course, he's one of my best customers, and he's brought me other Iranian customers, and here's his number and name, and I have his wife's name too. Which one do you want? And now we've got an address, and we're going to try to go see if he'll talk to us.
Rezai is in Yalova. I call the number the filter guy gives me. Rezai's wife picks up. She hands the phone to Rezai, but he says before he talks to me, I have to prove that I'm a journalist. So I send him some of my articles. Then he calls me back. We plan to meet at a cafe.
Yeah, I think he's here.
You could say Rezai's tall, dark, and handsome. He wears a black t-shirt and jeans, no beard or mustache, neatly combed black hair. He's got 2 rings on, one amber, one turquoise, and a nice watch. For a guy who was almost kidnapped, he seems incredibly relaxed. We leave the cafe to find somewhere more private to talk.
We're just getting in the car. Yeah, come on in.
I sit next to Rezai in the front seat of his sedan. Özge sits in the back. Rezai does not hold back. It's actually kind of surprising how open he is, considering he was almost kidnapped for being an Iranian Navy captain in exile. I ask him to start from the beginning. He says he'll drive us somewhere more quiet to talk. About 15 minutes later, we arrive at a mall. It's dark by the time we get there, raining on and off. Rezai parks in front of the sidewalk and says this is where operatives almost snatched him.
Yeah.
This way. There we go. Okay. Is your arm
1, 2, 3, 4.
Yeah?
Okay.
Okay. 3, 2, 1, just testing.
Rezai begins to unspool his story. He grew up in an industrial city in central Iran. Then he was accepted into Iran's Navy University.
After that, go to the sea, go to the ocean.
He joined the Navy. There was nothing romantic about it, though.
In reality, is opposite, unfortunately.
Rezai says he loved the idea of travel, and he didn't mind the grunt work of cleaning on ships. But he became disillusioned with all the corruption and nepotism, especially when he thought about how long he was locked in the Navy, for 25 years. Rezai says he also felt constrained by the state's interpretation of Shia Islam, Iran's official religion. Members of the military are expected to pray 5 times a day, usually with other men.
I'm
I'm an atheist. The things they would tell us didn't make sense. From the age of 10, they would tell us that Prophet Ibrahim tore up a bunch of birds, then sent them to the mountains, then called them back in whole pieces again. Rezai says his disbelief in God wasn't the main reason he fled Iran.
مهمترین عامل من میتونم بهتون بگم این بود که هیچ تعهدی من به عنوان یک نیروی ارتش به عنوان یک آرمی نداشتم.
He says the most important reason I decided to flee Iran was that I didn't want to help the war of Bashar al-Assad. In 2017, Syria was in the middle of a civil war. The country's dictator, Bashar al-Assad, had no qualms about killing civilians. He used chemical weapons on them, like sarin gas. Rezai wanted no part in it.
هر نحوی که بتونه حتی یه زمانی اون بحث سلاح شیمیایی پیش اومد که داره از سلاح‌های شیمیایی استفاده میکنه.
So after working as a Navy officer for 17 years, he fled to Turkey with the help of a smuggler. As soon as Rezai crossed the border, he contacted his wife. She told him she had tried to flee too with their 6-year-old son, but at the airport, the regime confiscated their passports and banned them from travel. After talking to his wife, Rezai knew the regime was coming after him. And he was right. He got a phone call from an Iranian diplomat. The deputy ambassador in Ankara, Turkey, told me that he would make sure nothing would happen to me if I returned to Iran. He said I could resign from the Navy and only serve a little time in jail.
به من گفت که اگر برگردی ایران الان فرض کن هیچ اتفاقی نیفتاده اشتباهی کردی نهایتا یه چند روزی هم بازداشتت میکنم فلان.
But Rezai says the diplomat also warned him, do not work with Israel. Do not talk to Israel. Rezai figured Iran suspected he might be recruited as a spy. He had no interest in spying for Israel. Either way, he says, there was no coming back from that.
واقعا من وسوسه شدم بودم حتی اگر
I was really confused, really worried, he says. Rezai met with the Iranian diplomat at a hotel in Ankara. After their meeting, the diplomat texted him.
3 times send the location for me in the Telegram application. And said, I know you are living in Ankara. Everywhere I can find you. And I changed my number 3 times.
You didn't get scared. You have to be very brave to do this.
No. I'm not brave. I'm foolish.
Rizai says he changed his number 3 times, and each time the Iranian diplomat texted him.
شما رو اساس کردیم. اولا که باید
In Iran, Rizai was a gunner. He knows how to operate weapons on a ship and also how to utilize special simulation radars for navigation and tactical exercises. He's trained sailors. He says that's why the regime wanted him back in Iran, because he has specialized skills as a Navy captain.
این قضیه اینه که از روزی که شما میاین میلیون ها تومان هزینه میشه.
Going back was not an option. He knew he'd be severely punished, if not executed. And yet staying in Yalova meant long days of loneliness. His wife in Iran eventually divorced him, and he lost custody of his son. Rizai later married a woman in Yalova.
به هر حال میگم یه بحران خیلی بدی رو داشتم سپری میکردم و
I would look at life and see nothing in front of me, he says.
بودم یک دفعه داغون شده بود. هیچ چیش نمونده بود.
But at least he had the kebab shop. Rizai would offer to help. He'd wait tables, chat with the customers and the owner. He was trying to hold himself together.
قرص مصرف میکردم بابت اینکه بتونم یه مقدار خودم سرپا نگه دارم و
I would take my medication for my mental health so I could continue to live. In that moment of my life, he says, they found me. And by they, he means the people who would try to kidnap him, the Turkish guys.
اون اومد اونجا و میگفت که من چیزم کباب میزنم و فلان و اینا. بعد چند روز کار کردیم.
He says it started with Hakan Salam, the cook who didn't know how to cook. He had a brother and several cousins. They were the Salam family. And they became regulars at the restaurant. Hakan was fired a few days after he started working as a cook. But that didn't stop him from coming to the kebab shop to talk to Rizai.
اولین مرحله که اینا اومدن همونجوری که خدمتتون گفتم اون آقای هاکان.
At first, Hakan said, I have friends who send people from Turkey to Canada. I can help you.
کار این هستن که مثلا از ترکیه آدم میفرستن کانادا، اروپا.
Rizai says he didn't believe him. And also, his offers were presumptuous.
جالب این قضیه این بود که من اصلا با ایشون صحبتی نکرده بودم که من
I didn't share with him that I was a refugee and looking for a way out, he says.
نباید بیای کار کنی. گفتم خب دیگه من مجبورم دیگه باید کار کنم.
It was Hakan's brother Ismail who was more persuasive. Ismail could speak English. That was the easiest way for Rizai to communicate. Ismail would say things like, you shouldn't work here at this restaurant. And he'd offer to take him abroad.
من خیلی سعی کردم حالا مثلا یه جای کات کنم اینا رو دیگه باشون چون واقعا از اول
Rizai says, I tried to cut them off. I was 60% sure that these guys were suspicious, that there was a problem.
ولی ایشون علیرغم اینکه مثلا بارها به من تذکر داد که محمد اینا خیلی مشکوکن مدام دارن
Rizai says Sirkan Jihan, the owner of the kebab shop, was also suspicious of them. He told the Salams they couldn't come in the restaurant anymore. And he told Rizai why.
So he warned you. He had a feeling that these guys were bad news. But you trusted them. Why did you trust them?
Because چون واقعا دیگه خسته شده بودم و فکر می‌کردم که حالا
Because I was tired, he says. I thought that even if there was a 10% chance that these guys are telling the truth, I'm going to go with it.
اون 10% من باید امتحان کنم.
Then one night, Ismail and another Salam cousin named Muharram came to see Rizai. They had news.
کار اوکیه آماده باش ما چیز میکنیم و
He says they met on the street of the restaurant as I was leaving on my bike at night. We have your documents ready, they said. Our goal is to rescue and save you. Rizai decided to be frank.
حال روحی خوبی ندارم و اگر قرار بازیه قرار مثلا من تحویل ایران بدیم به من بگین
I told him my mental condition's not good, and if you're planning to turn me over to Iran, I'll end my life first, and I won't cause Iran any harm, he says.
من از روحی روانی چیز هستم کانفیوز هستم که نیاز نباشه اصلا منو بگیرن ببرن میتونم من خودم.
If they were going to take you back to Iran, you had pills, and you were going to swallow them. And you'd rather die than be punished in military prisons in Iran.
Yes, he says. I told Ismail several times.
What did he say? What was his response?
شدیداً این قضیه رو انکار میکرد من خودم
He denied it, and he said, you're my brother. I have kids. I wouldn't lie to you.
به عنوان برادر مثلا تو برادر من هستی فلان هستی، ولی من میدونستم که حالا اسماعیل واقعا توی قانع کردن خیلی خوب بود. بعد تا اون پشت
It was a few weeks later that Rizai met the fourth guy who would try to kidnap him. Once again, he was leaving the restaurant on his bike. It was night, and a Turkish guy started talking to him behind the restaurant. He introduced himself as Angel, which wasn't his real name. He was actually another Salam, a cousin, the leader of the Salam family. His name is Ehsan. Rizai didn't know any of this at the time.
آقای احسان رو من قبلش یه بار دیده بودم، یه شب اومد حالت مست و اینا.
He seemed drunk or was playing the part of a drunk, Rizai says. Rizai and Ehsan smoked cigarettes and walked. It didn't take long for Ehsan to offer to take Rizai abroad. Rizai said it freaked him out.
علیرغم اینکه میگم من چندین بار چیز کردم که حالا من
I kept telling him that I have to go and it's late for me, Rizai says. I lied to him and said, I left my house key in the restaurant and I have to go back and get it. That's when he left me alone.
بعد اونجا دیگه من گفتم کلید خونه رو من توی رستوران جا گذاشتم، باید برم بگیرم.
This is when things started to get scary. Several nights later on his bike ride home, Rizai spotted Ismail Salam driving a BMW. A few minutes later, he sees the BMW again, and he realizes the drunk angel, Ehsan Salam, is sitting next to Ismail in the passenger seat of the BMW. The Salams had cut him off.
11 بود، 10 یا 11 بین 10 تا 11 بود که من اومدم بیرون، با دوچرخه بودم و
I stopped and got off the bicycle to walk, Rizai says. The BMW pulled up next to him. Ehsan rolled down the window. Do you know me? He asked.
وارد کوچه بعدی که شدم یک دفعه آقای احسان با اون خودروی خودش پیچید جلوی من و من سریع شناختمش با اینکه لباساش عوض شده بود، کت شلوار.
I barely recognized him because he was wearing a suit, Rizai says. But I said, yes, I remember you. You came that night and you seemed a bit drunk.
جلوی چیز مست بودین فکر میکنم و اینا.
Then two of the car doors swung open.
چیزم اون اردال هم اونجا از ماشین پیاده شدن، اومدن پشت من.
Ismail and another Salam, yet another cousin who Rizai didn't know. His name was Erdal, got out of the car. There were so many Salams.
اومدن از ماشین پیاده شدن و اومدن پشت من و
They came toward me, Rizai says. I realized that they were going to grab me and throw me in the car. I let go of my bike and it fell. They said, get in the car. We want to talk to you.
بعد فهمیدم که میخوان حالا بیا منو سوار.
I said, I'm not coming with you guys. I stood there ready to fight back, but then Ismail switched tactics. He said, no need. Rizai is my friend and I'll convince him.
چیز مثلا بذاری من با محمد صحبت کنم، محمد با من دوست منه.
Ismail told Rizai, you're in danger. Iranian intelligence has plans to kidnap you. They said they'll show up in a white transporter van and get you. Rizai says he was glad there were other people on the street, even though it was after 10 p.m. A nearby cafe was still open. It gave him a small sense of security.
و دیگه توی راهی که میرفتیم با احسان تا سر اون کوچه که بعدش یه 10 دقیقه سر اون کوچه وایسادیم که
Ismail and his cousin Erdal got back in the BMW, and then Ehsan, the leader of the family, gets out of the car. He started to walk with Rizai down the street, trying to convince him to get in the car. They reached a street corner. This part was captured by a CCTV camera. It shows Ehsan Salam yelling at Rizai, and Rizai is laughing.
و بهشون گفتم واقعا این چیزی که درست کرده.
The story they were creating for me was funny, he says. I couldn't believe they could so stupidly execute this.
مثلا احمقانه بخوان این کارا رو انجام بدن. اینجا واقعیتش یه مقدارم ترسیده بودم ولی
But even though he thought they were stupid, Rizai says he was still scared. He said his laughing was an act. He was playing calm. He decided to appease them. He said, okay, he'd go abroad with them. They could take him.
و بعد دیگه گفت که میتونی حالا سوار ماشین بشیم عکس بگیری فلان. عکس بگیریم گفتم باش، اونم مشکل نداره من که.
Ehsan said, get in the car. We want to take a picture with you. So Rizai did. He got in the car.
I'm Nafisa Haji. Lethal Dissent is reported by Fariba Nawa, reporting in Turkey by Beril Eski. The series is produced by Chris Harlan Dunaway. Our editor is Ibi Caputo. Additional research by Umar Farouk, fact-checking by Beril Eski and John Klepotowski. Özge Sebzici is our photographer and multimedia producer. Artwork for the podcast is by Hatice Garib. Musical score and sound design by Uzair Ahmed. Legal review by Eric Brass. This story wouldn't be possible without support from the Pulitzer Center and Radio Zamaneh. Thank you to our partners, The Verge and PRX. Special thanks to executive producer for The World, Dan Lothian, and managing editor for The World, Tinku Ray, our friend ER, Shahnam Gulshani, Adnan Devrim, Hamish Brown, Kate Ellis, Stephen Smith, Levi Bridges, Banu Azizian, Adisha Azizian, Yithan Ujair, Rashad and Alan at Splice Media, and to the Iranians who helped us, whose full names we can't use for security reasons. Thank you, HM, AM, and MB. A failed kidnapping plot, where the alleged kidnappers leave incriminating texts on their own phones? Dirty cops, a crooked public prosecutor, and a gang of brothers, along with one of their girlfriends. This story is getting juicy, but no less dangerous. I'm Nafisa Haji.
On Spec returns in 2 weeks.
Fariba Nawa's investigation leads her straight to the would-be kidnapping victim and his story, much wilder than the drier details found in the 77-page criminal indictment. In Lethal Dissent, Iran's hunt for its citizens abroad, Episode 6, Woman from the CIA.